Hello, welcome back to the Subspace bi-weekly developer sync, where we discuss kind of the going-ons in the project over the last couple of weeks. Let's see, today we'll get started with a couple of updates and well, I don't know about announcing, I guess announcements. First, Jim and I and a couple of other team members spent the last few days at East Denver, which was great. We got to meet with a lot of our or some of our key partners, which was great, and partners maybe to be. Attend a lot of talks, a lot of buzz around AI and Web3, space we've been ourselves very keen to get involved in and looking at how we can um, how Subspace can be used in that space to kind of further things along. So it was exciting stuff. I'm sure we'll be getting out some notes and probably a forum post, as Jim's always on top of those forum posts with the key takeaways. From a protocol standpoint, I think since last time we met, Nova has been enabled. So we do have the EVM domain up and running. It's under a permit, I guess it's under only a few operators at the moment. We're still working on getting the associated tooling up and out, Block Explorer and such, and working on, it has had rather slow block production. I know Ning is going to begin work on the fix for that. We know what's causing it. So that was it for the announcements from engineering ecosystem. Do you have some updates as well or hot topics to discuss?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jeremy. So yeah, just wanted to touch on the East Denver. It's been an absolute blast, and yeah, we saw lots of amazing and interesting things. And as Jeremy says, I will be typing up my notes and producing some forum posts. I'll be chatting with people in Discord as well. If there's anything you want to ask beforehand, feel free to. Some people have already, I've already had a query and provided some thoughts this morning. But yeah, really enjoyed East Denver. Okay, so from ecosystem, we have kicked off Hacker Month. Emil has put a post on the forum and put some announcement in Discord. The immediate thing, if this is something that interests you in participating, is that we will be holding a workshop on Wednesday this week. Nazar is going to very kindly take us through the nuts and bolts of how you might make a change to Space Acres. And one of the interesting things off the back of that, of course, is that we have organized a bunch of issues in GitHub with Space Acres with specific USDC values, bounties attached to them. Understanding the audience who might be watching the dev sync, if there's something that interests you, please do reach out in Discord or take a look through the forum post. It's another permissionless bit of the protocol. You just need to come and pick the issue you want to work on. And we love contributions, and you can get paid. So Hacker Month starts this month, and keep an ear out for the other exciting things we've got going on. Okay, so hot topics from within the community this fortnight. Overall, things are running very smoothly. There's no big critical issues preventing farmers from working properly. Everyone's really concentrating on tweaking and experimenting with how to get the most out of their setups. And you know, the really the focus at the moment has been, you know, the UX, which continues to improve thanks to Nazar's direct connection to the community. We can do that without the amazing farmer feedback we get, which is critical and really appreciated. We thank you for that. There are some items that I did just want to touch on though, because just last night we had someone raise this in the forum. You may see a warning on your farmer in the logs. It is a warn, and you'll see a warn on the consensus chain about bad bundles on the domains. So you see something like bad bundle domain ID with an identifier, an operator number, and an error, invalid proof of time. This is just a warning. It doesn't affect farming at all, and it may happen in some edge cases where the farmer isn't running a timekeeper and the bundle is broadcast to the farmer before the proof of time. So if you're just a farmer, obviously everyone's just a farmer at the moment because we haven't invited everyone onto Nova just yet. It's nothing to worry about, so please don't panic. We are aware we're talking about maybe downgrading the level of criticality or the warning to a debug message, maybe. But if you see it, please don't panic. Okay, another big topic recently, it's something that's been going on for quite a while now, is memory usage on Windows. If you run your farmer on Windows, you're probably aware that Task Manager reports memory usage just climbs and climbs and climbs. Something that Nazar's been looking into for a while, and just recently we've made some progress. Shout out to Dragon P with his testing of builds that Nazar's been producing. I admit I haven't caught up entirely on the forum thread. I had a suspicion it may have been fixed, but I see Nazar has provided a note to me suggesting that the testing results are mixed. Memory usage goes down, but at the same time, farming seems to suffer a lot. It's not resolved yet, and he may revert the PR that closed the issue in Space Acres unless we find a solution to this. So we are still working, but there's definitely been progress. I know that Nazar has found that the root cause seems to be a quirk of Windows, as if Windows would have any quirks, of course. Um, okay, and then the final thing I wanted to touch on is running timekeepers behind the Chinese firewall. Something, so I'm not sure how many people may be aware of this, but as I was catching up on the forum, I noticed a conversation that was going on that there was a suggestion that guys running farmers behind the Chinese firewall may suffer with missing more rewards than others. So that suggests there could be some latency with them providing their solutions. And we're we want to help here, and Nazar suggested that maybe running timekeepers behind the firewall, behind the Chinese firewall, it may help. However, we can't test that without a selection of guys who can run those timekeepers. And if that's something that interests you and you are behind the Chinese firewall, please do reach out if it's not clear how you might do that. Obviously, you'd be celebrated as a hero, I'm sure, if you manage to find a way to win more rewards. And that is everything from ecosystem. Thanks, Jeremy.
Great. Thank you, Jim. All right, some of the, I guess, further things, highlights from the week. When we start with Natasha, we've had some, I see a banner across the top of Astral that there's some indexing issues. Do you mind kind of giving us an update on maybe what that is, and then when we can expect to see Astral back up and running fully?
Definitely. For Astra, we faced an issue on indexing last week, and we'll be working on fixing it. Reindexing the chain has been a little bit slow, so we are working on perfectioning that. But for now, Astral should be back up at the latest tomorrow or later today with the fix that we added. And we are working on improvements to separate the indexing, because right now everything is in a big indexer or squid, but we are currently parting it up. So we do a smaller indexing, which improves time, and also we are doing some database improvements as well.
When do you expect to see the kind of split take effect? Like I saw PR get merged this morning.
Yeah, we are currently working on deploying one of the first splits, and we will working on. I'm working currently on the second one. It should be this week, but there are two more that we're what we will need, and that will come next week.
Great, thanks. As Nazar wasn't able to make this call today, I'm going to do his part, which was an update on continued farmer UX improvements. There was a release just pushed out recently that came with a few improvements. First is a big one, actually, is unplotted space is going to be used for caching purposes in order to avoid downloading the same pieces multiple times. this has a significant improvement on, or it did for me, in plotting times, not having to go back out to the network, especially for smaller plots where maybe the piece cache wasn't big enough to kind of cover the whole blockchain, and so you were still needing to request pieces. Some others, piece cache sync and plotting are happening concurrently. And we have deprioritized plotting threads, which may have a slight hit to plotting performance, but should allow you to farm more effectively while you're plotting, which I think everybody will appreciate. So those were the kind of the big updates. I think we'll continue to see more of these. It's been pretty amazing to watch the improvements just steadily keep coming on the farming experience. So, all right. Ved, I know you've been working on getting cross-domain messaging up and running on Gemini 3H, which I think will be the first chain we've had it up on. So, do you want to give us an update where we're at and when we can maybe expect to see some channels open up?
Yeah. Hey everyone. So the past few weeks we've been working on the XTM, bringing the V2 version of the XTM. We are in the testing phase currently. We have few more things that we need to test out on our local testnets and testnet that we currently run before we push out to Gemini 3H. If everything goes well, maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, or maybe less than that, hopefully, if there is nothing to be worried about, maybe even a week as well, we should have something deployed on Gemini 3H and also maybe open and initiate a channel between consensus and Nova chain. So people can move stuff between the chains as well. Yeah.
What have been the big kind of overarching issues you've been working on in getting it prepared?
Yeah, so so we had XGM for quite some time now, but as I've mentioned before, the previous version had some of the limitations in terms of like how the XGM is actually confirmed between the chains, and there was a bit of a security issue. So we mostly focused on figuring out the security issues, and currently the main focus for our testing is to ensure the seamless transfer of funds between these chains, but also note that there will be a bit of latency because of our Nakamoto consensus machine. So it's always going to be a little bit of latency compared to the V1 version of it, because we took some assumptions there which might not hold going forward as well. So those are the main important things that we were looking at, and important things that we would like to solve with XDM.
So we've been focused on security over latency at the moment. We do expect to, once we have a secure protocol, start looking at things we can do to improve latency, whether that's third party, kind of outside of the protocol tooling that can verify state maybe easier than we can from within the protocol. But Daria, I know that the research team's been hard at work looking at what we can do to improve that. So, all right, well, that's great. Speaking of research team, Daria, last time I believe you spoke about moving the specs to GitHub. Where are we at on that?
Um, yeah, this is not very researchy, but it's adding a rigor to the existing protocol, which is going to be increasingly important as we're moving to mainnet to establish a transparent and rigorous and well cross-checked process of actually improving the protocol and merging any code changes that are going to affect all the participants of the network, and again eventually moving to a governed process of updating the specs that has so far been basically myself. So I have finally published to GitHub the specs, the specifications that are the most stable ones in the protocol, which are consensus, including proof of space and proof of time, and domains and fraud proofs. There are still several pages that are missing, and they have open issues for them, such as XDM, because it's still very much in the working. fees and rewards specification, DSN specifications, those are coming. These are the formal specifications. They're not meant to be as like readable and understandable to a general audience as the Subnauticon, for instance. They are meant for engineers and research. And ideally, the goal is to make the specs the canonical source of truth about the protocol, because currently, practically, it is the code. And the specs do not yet cover the whole stack of everything that happens in the protocol. So because a lot of it has been inherited from Substrate, things like transaction pool and else. And the current interim process that I have been envisioning is that the pull requests to the monorepo, to the protocol code, such as like XDM, or like we did introduce the bundle size limits last week, will be accompanied by a pull request to the specifications repository that is easier to follow and approve and discuss and leave comments on. Because not all of the specs are yet present and some of the specs may be missing some information as we're working on them. For the engineers, if you are doing a pull request in monorepo, you could either go and edit the specs yourself, and that will be approved by me and other engineers, or at least open an issue that's pointing to your pull request, and I will go look at it and I will update the specs. But ideally, it will be decentralized and approved by everyone and discussed before committing to the implementation. But it's still in the works. We're still looking for feedback, and we're still working all together to see what will be the best process going on.
Right. I noticed this morning when I logged on, we had our first couple pull requests to the specs repo. So starting to get that process in order, which is going to be a great, I think, improvement in transparency to the protocol. So, all right. Well, we have made it through the agenda as I have. Is there anything anybody else wanted to discuss before we sign off? All right. We'll see everyone back in 2 weeks.